Dan and Amy, top of the morning. Tell you, time for the Campus Beat segment that we do. And we mean beat literally as well as figuratively.
Well, we can be of aid. We can serve a purpose this morning.
Well, look, Evergreen State College in Olympia, Washington. This is really, really something. This is for those who think that these free speech imbroglios on college campuses, the one-off professor being attacked, the one-off riot at Berkeley. This isn't happening everywhere. There are stories that are true, but they sensationalize the overall issue and the overall threat to civilization and a free society. We're overstating it. Okay. Well, listen to Evergreen State. And I know there's people say, well, that's, again, this is a one-off. Just listen to this because you think that it's just contained to this place. Brett Weinstein, we've talked about in response to what's going on at that college, which, of course, produced Matt Groening.
Oh, that's right.
Creator of The Simpsons. So Vice News did a report on Evergreen State, Vice News and HBO. And Brett Weinstein, who is this biology professor who opposed the day of absence, meaning white people kicked off campus. If you're not a person of color, you're not welcome on campus that day of absence from white privilege. So that's
right.
All white people. Brett Weinstein, who identifies as a progressive, uses the lingo of progressivism, of leftism, talking about equity and all these words that have become the jargon of the left, was asked by the reporter, why do these students want you fired?
Weinstein objected to the day of absence in a formal protest email to colleagues, arguing that, quote, one's right to speak or to be must never be based on skin color. Calls for his resignation followed.
By virtue of the way they constructed this, you were making a statement by being on campus that you were not an ally. And I feel like I am an ally to people of color in their attempt to gain equity.
Do you have any sense at this point of why they want you to resign?
Well, they think that I'm a racist. Because if you stand up against one of these things because you think it's ill-considered, that you will be branded as a racist.
When the left cannibalizes the left because you're just not totalitarian enough. Vice had the opportunity to interview a couple of students. Listen to young Hadley on the topic of Mr. Weinstein's employment at Evergreen State.
We just wanted to be like, until you're accountable for these actions, you don't get to teach students at Evergreen. You don't get to spread this problematic rhetoric and instill it in students.
Yes, you're disrupting my class.
So at this point, we would like Brett to be fired, but that isn't happening. The administration is refusing to take action. They're choosing to protect this white cis male professor over its students.
Cis male.
White cis male.
Oh,
remember,
this is sick how much power they have.
Remember, and they refer to him as Brett. There's no
right.
professor. They refer to the president of the university, George Bridges, as George. Weinstein, remember the objectionable words. It was that you shouldn't be allowed to speak or not allowed to speak based on your color. That's what Weinstein objected to. Hadley is saying he shouldn't be employed if he's going to use that kind of language on a college campus. He shouldn't be allowed to teach students. Who has been teaching them to this point, I wonder? Hadley goes on, does young Hadley, about the professor's appearance on Tucker Carlson, which we covered on this show, what she thought of that.
Although Brett has not personally said, go out and attack these students, go out and threaten these students, that has been the result of his actions. He has incited white supremacists and he has validated white supremacists and Nazis in our community and in the nation. And I don't think that should be protected by free speech.
Right. Brett Weinstein, a Jewish gentleman,
right,
is activated Nazis in the community.
Where did she get that?
From between her ears.
Just make that up, right?
Yeah, you think that's
just making this stuff up as you go along, whatever fits your narrative. This is good. Yeah.
You think that's isolated? Here's a little student roundtable on the topic of free speech.
We received a threat saying that people will come here and execute every single person
Yeah.
they see on campus. At that point,
Yeah.
free speech.
Yeah.
When we're dead, when people die, and you're sitting here like, well, at least they got to practice their free speech. I'm so sorry about it. Your free speech is not more important than the lives of like Black, trans, femmes, and students on this campus. I'm so sorry. Hate to break it to you.
How many Black trans are there?
Black trans femmes.
Black. I mean,
Don't have a count. Another student that Vice interviewed, Kristen, on the ability to dissent on college campus, on this college campus in particular, but you could apply this to a lot of college campuses across the nation.
I'm afraid of having a nuanced opinion because I'm afraid that my opinions and I will be stigmatized.
It's a rather strange sentence to hear on a university campus. I'm fearful of my nuanced opinion.
So I feel that I do not have the ability to speak if I have disagreements with the methods that are being used in the protests.
Yeah, and if you think
are you down with her struggle?
if you think that the president of the university is going to intervene on behalf of sanity and the free exchange of ideas on the college campus, that's where you're wrong. President George Bridges on the topic.
I think their concerns are legitimate. They're articulating ideas that have to do with race, ethnicity, power, privilege, and we're taking a look at them.
We're taking a look at them, the list of demands they've issued. Also, he finds nothing particularly problematic with the fact that they were going to force him during one of their sieges on campus that he was not allowed to go to the bathroom
Oh, really?
without an escort.
I felt very
Why?
safe there. Why what?
Why did they want to escort you to the bathroom?
I don't know.
Did you ask them?
No, of course not.
I didn't ask them
is
why.
is his name
the-
Sally?
The president of the university, they demanded to he first asked to go to he said, I have to go to the bathroom. They said, hold it. Then they escorted him to the bathroom. Did he ask why? No, of course not, because he doesn't want to offend.
Who's in charge here?
And
I mean, really, his name is Sally. Sorry.
wait for it, George Bridges on the charge by these same students who are escorting him to use the lavatory, the charge that he's a white supremacist.
A student told me that you're a white supremacist.
I'm assuming that students have said lots of things about me. I don't believe I am. I'm
You
a
don't
white
believe
person.
you are, but you accept that you might be.
No. Well, it depends on what you mean by a white supremacist. What does that mean? I'm a white person in a position of privilege.
Oh, my goodness. So
So,
now do you think it's crazy that I still want the National Guard to go in there?
well, it's not a National Guard issue,
I know, but still.
it is
And school's over for the year.
this is how you lose freedom in society. This is the incubators of totalitarianism, these re-education centers, and of course it's happening before they even get to a college campus. Parents should be astonished and ashamed of these students, these thugs on
They're
college
thugs.
campuses. They are
They're
thugs.
vigilantes. They're anarchists. They're, and
No,
Thursday night.
They're thugs. No. They don't want anarchy. They want control.
Oh,
they want the
have
opposite
control.
of
Yeah.
anarchy.
They're
they
running
want-
wild on that campus.
To impose.
But here's the thing. Thursday night, there was a pro-Trump speaker, and then Friday, they moved the graduation ceremony off campus because it was a safety issue.
40 miles away.
Yeah, at the Tacoma Cheney Stadium. And if you didn't have a ticket, you couldn't even park there. It was just such a safety concern, please. Because one person on Thursday night was a pro-Trumper and spoke.
Did you ever read the Banality of Evil? Hannah Arendt's report on the Adolf Eichmann trial in Israel. It's issued in her book in the early 60s, The Banality of Evil. This is this phrase that she created. She talks about Nazi Germany, where essentially, not that individuals had lost their moral agency or were not morally culpable for following orders, because they were, but Eichmann's defense was that he just followed orders. Not only did he follow orders, he followed the law. And this is, to some extent, the path we're on, the banality of evil, where there is an excuse, there is a protocol, there is a code, there is even the law, and we just say, and This is on a range of topics, but the freedom of expression is, and the freedom of a religion, the freedom of worship is at the core of it. The banality of evil, where ordinary people act as agents of totalitarianism, of repression. And I don't care if they're a 20-year-old know-nothing like young Hadley, or a 60-year-old, I don't know, PC-addled coward like the president of that university. This is serious business, and maybe tomorrow we'll get into more of it, how it's starting to permeate into other areas of society, workplaces, the arts. There are topics that cannot be criticized, no matter how poorly they're represented, or if it's a show, how poor the narrative or the character development is. It's happening right here in Chicago at Steppenwolf. Maybe we'll get to that tomorrow. Alan in Rockford, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Well, has every or the majority of college campuses in this country just become villages of the damned? I mean, who are the parents of these kids? Are they huddled behind their armoires at home, afraid to peek out from behind them? God forbid Hadley comes home and, oh my God, she's home. Don't say anything. I mean, really?
Right. Keep the lights off and hide, and maybe she'll think we're not home. Right.
Yeah. Well, good luck with these kids, everybody.
Thanks for the call, Alan. Sean in Elmwood Park.
You know, all I keep thinking about is how much better off this country would be without public education. Because not only do we pay for it while it goes on by this incompetent moron whose check will be there on Friday as if he was good at his job, we're going to pay for it forever because we pay for this is a system that is eating us from inside, and we pay for it. We pay the bill. So until we get politicians that know how to strip away the public funding for this kind of it's a sabotage from within. Until we get politicians that can pull back and know how to uncouple this tyranny that we pay for, we're damned. And as you hear the politicians come on, great show, by the way, great show. But as you bring on our guys, supposedly, and as you hear these incompetent boobs come on, like Oberweis, who talks to you about, he knows they have good intentions. Oh, Cullerton, they all have good intentions. Everybody has good intentions, except these people who know they are creating a cancer that eats us from inside. We're doomed. We are doomed. What is the answer, Prof? You've got the big brain, all the degrees, Northwestern. What's the answer?
Thanks for the call, Sean. I mean, look, I don't think there's a simple answer. We've talked about it with Andrew Klavan, about culture, about having conservative thought more represented in places where it's not, that are so impactful and so persuasive and influential, like Hollywood, like college campuses, like K through 12 school systems. Because I got to tell you, I mean, this Evergreen State story, Alan Bloom wrote about Closing of the American Mind 30 years ago, and it's barely ajar 30 years later.